What's up, family? It's your Dr. Shonna, and I'm here today because we're going to talk about Chicago and what's happening in Chicago. I've been seeing a lot of things with some people in our community, and yeah, some things I think that we should not do when we're looking for clickbait, when we're looking for people to join in on our discussion, when we're looking for followers, likes, whatever the case is, comments. I think certain things we should not do. And I'm seeing a lot of random postings without any caption, without any understanding regarding what is happening in Chicago. And I just want to have this quick conversation because I think I should how do I word this? I think that we as a community, and we're talking about being on code. We're really talking about how our lives really matter, not only against police violence, but you hear the other side of the rhetoric saying, people that says, if Black lives really matter, we should care about the killers in Chicago. And not that it's not true. It's true. I think it's a red herring. I think what I mean when I say a red herring is when we take information and we put it out there, but it's not dealing with the topic at hand. So it distracts attention away from the conversation. That's what a red herring is. And oftentimes I see that going up by many people in our community. People are throwing up red herrings all over the place, and they like to take what's happening in Chicago, just putting it out there with no research, no data, no information. And so we run with this. We run with this information. We go on with the narrative that's out there. And so I'm going to jump on tonight. I'm not going to keep you guys long. I'm just going to touch on some issues in Chicago that I think is worthy of a conversation. So we're going to have this conversation, brothers and sisters. As always, it costs you nothing to subscribe to the channel and hit that little notification bell so you can know when I'm going live. It costs you nothing to hit that thumbs up for the likes, and it costs you nothing to share the video. Share the video. Regardless of how you feel about the messenger, you ain't got to be on here to like and love me. I can care less about that. What I do care about is that you have accurate information. What I do care about is that you are informed with your narrative and what you're putting out there. What I do care about is that you understand what is happening in this system and the things that we ought to be aware of. And lastly, what I do care about is that we're taking the necessary steps, actions, and precautions so that we can have healthy families in our community, because we know, as with any success and any wealth, it starts with the family. So I want to give a big shout out to everybody in the chat room. Thank you for that donation, Dwayne from New York City. That is my guy right there. Good evening. Yes, Bronx love all day. I'm bringing it to you from the Bronx. Well, I'm in Jersey right now. That's where I live. But once from the Bronx, always from the Bronx. I'm going to bring it to you with my New York style like I always do. I love every last one of y'all in the chat room. I see a Miss Ruth Elena. That's one of my faithfuls. Let me go ahead and make Elena a moderator. Elena, you have been promoted to moderator because you are faithful. Ramsey as well. Ramsey, you have been promoted to moderator because Ramsey is faithful. I love you guys. I love every last one of you guys. Let's go ahead and talk. First of all, as I stated when I first came on, there are some members of our community who have platforms who are just dropping knowledge. Well, no. Rewind, pause. Let me go back. Who's just dropping clickbait information on Chicago. 60 murders over the past weekend, 17 shooters over the past weekend, a 7-year-old got murdered and killed and gunshot, and da-da-da. And that's all they're doing. But are we having critical discourse about what is happening in Chicago? You're welcome, Ramsey. You're welcome, Elena. Are we having critical discourse about what is happening in Chicago? Or are we confusing our people by getting them distracted, making it seem like people in Chicago are savages? Now, we're going to be fair in the conversation, right? We're going to be fair in the conversation. There are a lot of things that is happening in Chicago that is savage-like behavior. We're going to be fair with that, right? Little girls being shot and killed. But can we say, in all honesty, and I'm not saying that is not happening by the residents of Chicago, but I'm not saying that it is. I'm saying we have to really critically examine everything that is happening in Chicago and elevate our thinking so that we can see what dynamics are being played out here. Why is it today a topic of discussion about Trump getting ready to send in federal agents and federal troops into Chicago to quell the gun violence, to control the gun violence, is not a mistake why these things are happening. So we have somebody from Chicago in the room. We have Maynard is saying, I'm from Chicago. So Maynard, you're going to be the person that's going to be able to give me some information. You are the one that's going to be giving me some insight into Chicago, because what I do have is just my research. So you are on the, I don't know if you're on the ground. You might just be somebody that's in Chicago but don't want to even deal with the issues. I'm not saying you are, Maynard. I'm just saying that could be the situation. Thank you so much for that donation, Alicia. I really appreciate that. So let's go over what's happening. So I went over the numbers. I went over a lot of different news articles that's out there on Chicago. And that's all you see is that the news articles are reported, and they have been reporting Chicago's killings since like 2017, heavy. You know how they say in one summer, 1 week, 90 people got shot. You know, they put it out there. And this rhetoric has been going on for some time now. Shout out to my community members, Audra, Walton, John Q. What's up to the YouTube members in the community? There's a private YouTube members. I want to say shout out to you guys and thank y'all for joining the channel. We got to get everyone else to join the channel so you can get extra content that you're never going to see on this regular channel when I come on, because I have to make sure my time is used accordingly. So this past week, I was reading the articles. So this past week, there was a teen that carjacked a woman by gunpoint. She was not shot. Her and her husband's car was stolen. One car so far has been recovered. Then there was another shooting of a little girl, and say her name. Her name is Natalia Wallace, 7 years old. She was shot at a July 4th party, and 2 people have been arrested in that incident. That is a tragedy. That should never happen. And these are the kind of things that we need to really pay attention to, because Natalia will never become a mom. She would never graduate high school. She would never go into college. She would never get married. She's never going to be a mom. She's never going to do any of the things that she probably was destined to do, because her life was cut short. Her life was cut short. So these are the kind of things that are sickening. And these are the kind of images that they're going to put on the media to play on our strings, because as we already know, there's a lot of Democratic and Republican battle going on, because the election year is upon us. So they're going to put these images out there and these stories out there, because Chicago is led by Democrats. You got Lightfoot, who is the mayor. You got David Brown, if I'm not mistaken. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Maynard. You got David Brown, who is the police superintendent that's out there, and I think he's new. He's not that old on the force. So you have all of these kind of political things that's happening. Now, before I get into my theory of what's going on, this is what I think. Chicago is also one of those areas that is undergoing and has been undergoing for some time. And we all know that gentrification takes some time, but they have been under gentrification heavy and big time. I already reported in one of my videos the situation that happened with I think it was Target. If it wasn't Target, it was Walmart, but I believe it was Target. But Maynard, you're going to have to correct me on that one. But like I said, I did a video not too long ago where when the community members started to push back against Target, and they got upset, if I believe it was Target, about some of their hiring practices and things that was going on, Target decided to close one of the stores in an area that was highly populated by Black people. And the stores that was where the white people are have stayed open, and they still have full employment, and Black employees over there are feeling discriminated against, and they're coming up with complaints against Target. I believe that's what the store is. So you got to understand, yes, okay, Here for Truth says it was Target. I did a video on that, and I broke it down in full detail. You got to go back over the videos that I have on here. I broke it down in full details. And the reason why I'm saying this, because you got to understand that when politics are involved, yes, I'm making this claim, when politics are involved, whatever the struggle is in a community, it becomes highlighted. Remember how it was in New York City when crime was high in New York City, and even though No one really examined the root of the crime. No one ever traced back the crime. What is causing the crime to happen? They just played on it, and they played it on big time. They played on it big time. And at that time in New York City, Giuliani had his little push that he was policing New York in such a way, like law and order. He was policing in such a way for his own political gain. I feel, and maybe I'm wrong, you guys can correct me, give me your opinion. Like, we all have opinions here, right? As long as we're respectful, we all have opinions. But I believe that the same thing is happening or about to happen in Chicago. You have to elevate these shooters. You have to elevate the stories. You have to create the fear. You have to create all of that, because we see it now. We may not have seen it as clearly when Giuliani was in office in New York, but we see it now that the plan to gentrify certain areas that was heavily inundated with crime was already on the way. That conversation was already happening behind closed doors. We just didn't know about it. So, of course, anytime they're trying to take over a community, they're going to elevate the social ills in a community to justify their reasons for cleaning up the community by clearing people out. You clear them out, you take over. So that's my first thing. And I'm going to give you guys some data and information, some research behind why I'm making this claim. Because as I'm going through all these articles, like I said, the 7-year-old that was shot, 3 teenagers, all girls, 19, 16, and 13, they were all shot. They were all treated. They survived. And then the newspapers, the media, has coined them as being uncooperative, meaning not helping the investigation, not wanting to talk. But that's always the story. So you can't make an arrest when the victims are uncooperative. You do have organizers in Chicago that are out there right now, and they're doing things, but that's not going to work. I'm sorry to bust your bubble. I know y'all don't want to hear this, because sometimes we get excited about certain things, so we don't want to hear what the truth is. But guess what? I salute I Am Gentlemen Incorporated, which is an organization in Chicago. Y'all should look them up. I Am Gentlemen Chicago. They put on a forum where the forum was led by the youth. It was called I Cry. And that's great that they did all of that, but that is not going to stop what is happening, because I believe what is happening is manufactured. I believe what is happening is systematic, and I'm gonna tell you why. Nig is saying, how can this be prevented? We're gonna have that discussion, Nig. Okay, so what else everyone's saying? Sid is saying gentrification squads. You know it. You already know it. Chardine from the Wire is saying gentrification is continuing to spread all over America. It irritates me when I hear Black folks saying owning a house is too much work. Well, being pushed out of your neighborhood feels worse. Come on, you need to be on this platform. You need to be on this platform. We need to have that conversation. And you're absolutely right. But this is how it starts. You can go through almost any major city. Fact check me. Go through almost any major city when they started the gentrification process. Maybe 5 years before it starts, 10 years before it starts. I'm not too sure with the guideline on some cities. I'm from New York. I can only talk in detail about New York. But before it starts, 5 to 10 years before it starts, they start highlighting all the social ills in the community. Of course, they assign all the social ills in the community to the Black people in the community, and the so-called, whatever the hell that means, brown people in the community. They assign all the social ills there so that they can justify their regime, so they can justify their systematic racism, their systematic oppression, their systematic bias, their profiling, everything that is about to happen, that's already happening, I should say, in Chicago, is about to get worse. And we know this because we see this in cities all across America, that a certain population of people are interested in taking. Colonizers are colonizers. Period. Colonizers are colonizers. So you cannot tell me for the life of me all of these shootings that are happening is just because the people in Chicago are impoverished and savage. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't buy it. I'm never going to buy it. And when you look at the evidence, it doesn't support that. Now, are people willing to have real conversations? No. Everybody want to keep their position. Lightfoot want to keep her position. I know some of you are like Lightfoot. I don't have anything for or against Lightfoot. I don't know her, but I'm listening to some of the interviews. I'm hearing some of the interviews. Some of the stuff that she's saying is contradictory. She says one thing on this day. Tomorrow she says something else. Go ahead and listen to the interviews. Go ahead and read some of the statements that she has been making. Something is definitely going on there. So how does Trump come into this whole picture? Soul Man is saying in the scanners, police in Chicago were heard saying or staying or maybe saying, let the gangs kill each other and not intervene. Maynard is saying not at all. Gang crime in Chicago is organized. Listen, I think is a little bit deeper, and it is organized. And I'm agreeing with you, Maynard, but I'm saying in order for gangs to be that effective, they have to have some infiltration into some government positions in order for that to happen. In order for them to walk away without being prosecuted, you can't tell me for the life of me, all these arrests, all these shootings and these killings, and the prosecution is not able to make these cases stick. You could send somebody away for damn well the rest of their life for having some weed on them, but you can have a gun charge and a body stick. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Right? I don't believe that. I don't believe that. So here's what I'm going to say to you guys. Trump, let's talk about Trump for a second. So now Trump gets involved. They have this, they keep playing. When I say they, I'm talking about the main media outlets. They keep playing a statement that Trump made back in 2017. And of course, if you don't do your research, when you hear his statement, you're going to think that he just made this statement today before he started to get ready to send troops into Chicago. Back in 2017, Trump compared Chicago, not compared. Trump basically said Chicago was worse than Afghanistan. It was a war zone. And he let the American people know, whoever the American people is and whoever he's talking to, I doubt he was talking to you and I, but he let the American people know back in 2017 that Chicago was on his radar. It was one of those cities that he was going to send his feds into to clean it up. So how is it back in 2017, you just get on the scene, Donald Trump, you just started walking, crawling, not even walking, and automatically in his interview, he's already identifying this city as one of the cities that he's going to go into with his troops to get it clean. He's going to bring law and order. That is something that he's been saying since the very beginning. So I had to sit back, and I don't know about you guys, but I'll just say what I felt. I had to sit back and I said, you know what? I think people are just so upset about Trump, and in many cases for great reasons, not good reasons, great reasons. But if we get out of our emotions, we get out of our bag, and we really listen to what he has been saying all along, you got to ask yourself, or at least I had to ask myself, who's behind paying this man to say and do the things that he's doing? Because he don't know the first thing about being the president. Let's just make that very clear. I think many of us are in agreement with that. But who has the money behind this man to tell him which cities to target? In 2017, he made the statement. Come on, family. In 2017, he made the statement. 2020, he's now preparing right before the voting time. He's now preparing to send his federal people into Chicago to clean it up. What's up, McCoy White? How you doing? Hey, Matt, how you doing? Of course, absolutely. To name Lochtery, I think that's what it is. I can't know. I mean, I got to put my reading glasses back on to see your damn name. You got so many letters all squished up together. Name Lochtery. He's going after communities of colors because real estate is cheap there. Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe that wholeheartedly. But here we are. We taking a 2017 interview and we making it big right now. See, I think in 2017, when he made the statement, the so-called government in Chicago should have already seen what's going to come. So since I'm saying that, and many people, with the exception of some of us, not all of us, some of us, many people play chess. So this is all, in my opinion, this is all a show. They're all putting on a show as though they want to ride the bandwagon with saying, oh, this is a bad guy, this is a bad president. You're not going to come in here and mess about democracy. You're not going to treat us like Portland, Oregon. Don't come in here with those federal agents that don't have any identification on them, that's snatching up people, putting them in unmarked vehicles. You're not going to do that here. I think they're riding on the story. You already knew. You already knew that the president was going to do this. You already knew this was going to go down. You can't control your own streets, allegedly. Allegedly, you can't control you. I think they're all caught up in on the nonsense. This is what I believe, because we already have so much data, which I'm about to share with you all. We already have so much data, so much information as it relates to gun trafficking, as it relates to store purchases. Oh, I'm going to go over all these terms with you. We already know about unlicensed sellers. We already know about private sellers. We already know how guns get across state lines when the city that is greatly impacted are the cities that have the strictest gun laws. We already know about these things. They have studied these things. They have researched these things. They know what happens. But you can't get ahead of it. You can't get ahead of it. I know I shouldn't be drinking no sugar at this late at night, but sometimes you just want something cold and sweet to eat or drink. You know what I mean? Matt Hodges says, you think it's bad now. Wait until they mandate mandatory vaccines. Man, look, mandatory vaccines is going to be the least of your problems. It's going to be the least of your problems. Let me tell you why it's going to be the least of your problems. Matt Hodges, if you go through the articles concerning the shootings in Chicago, we're just focusing on Chicago in this video. If you go through the articles concerning the shootings of Chicago, people are randomly being shot from all over the place. They had a rideshare driver who was on his business, doing his business, in a route of his business, and a bullet hit the back of his window and shattered it. You have a woman and a man, a couple outside minding their own goddamn business. One gets shot in the thigh, the other one gets shot in the arm. They have nothing to do with whatever is happening in the midst of the gunfire. You have a little girl that's struck. You got teenagers that's getting shot, and the only thing they're doing is enjoying themselves. And this is at all different hours. So we can't even come with the stupid anti-Black rhetoric and say, well, if you're not outside at 1 o'clock in the morning, you won't get shot. This is happening at 9 o'clock in the morning. This is happening at 11 o'clock in the morning. This is happening at noon. This is happening at 2. This is happening at 3, 4, 10, 11, 2 a.m. This is happening all around the clock. And many of these shootings are random. And no arrests are being made. And no one knows anything. And no cameras are picking up anything. So we worrying about vaccines? I ain't worrying about vaccines because ain't nobody can give me nothing because I'm not involved in any of the system whatsoever. So ain't nobody can give me a goddamn thing. Nor my kids. My youngest child is the only child that is still in the grade school, and my youngest child is in the Afrocentric school that is private and not ran, operated, or funded by the government. So I ain't got to worry about any of that. So you think vaccines is a problem for me? Vaccines is the least of my problems. But we all get caught up and the hype that everyone else is talking about, and we all scared of vaccines. Why the hell y'all scared of vaccines? Easy solution. Get the hell out the system. Easy solution. Homeschool your own child. You're doing it now. Right? Easy solution. Somebody said it's the police doing the shooting. It wouldn't surprise me if it is. So you have all these shootings being reported. So I went and I started to do my research. I said, I want to know about the gun laws. I want to understand how the gun laws that govern Chicago is operating. I want to understand how enforcements look as it relates to the gun laws. I want to understand how prosecutions look as it relates to the gun laws. And what I found is shocking, appalling, is baffling, is disgusting, is embarrassing. Here's data and saying causes autism and a whole bunch of other shit. With data and don't concern me, I can't have any more children, and I don't plan on having any more children, so it don't concern me. Data, my youngest child is not vaccinated, so it don't concern me. I'm just saying. If I didn't like a problem, I fixed it. Do a homeschool cooperative. We all educate our own kids. They're not in the system. Right? Matt Hodges said, you have a cell phone, you are in a system. Matt Hodges, you're missing the point. The point is, me having a cell phone does not require me to get a goddamn vaccine. Hello? But let's not try to hijack the conversation. Going on back to the conversation. Right? Good evening to you too, amazing tribe. Good evening to you too. So Mr. Fred Hunter, or Pred Hunter, says gun laws are for the law-abiding. Newsflash, gangs don't give a fuck about gun laws. Listen, gangs don't care about gun laws, but let me tell you something else. If you think police officers, ATF, DEA, and all these other high-tech organizations within the government that has all this screening, I used to date a DEA agent. I know what the hell they do. I dated him for years. I know what they do. And trust me, they know where everybody exists. They know where every fucking body is. They know where everybody is. Right? But if we're not enforcing these laws, and trust me, the gun laws are very weak. They're very weak. But if we're not making it our business to prosecute people who are picked up for guns. See, they're prosecuting people, but they're the wrong people. We're going to get into that. They're the wrong people. They are prosecuted. But if we're not making it our business to go after the people who are trafficking these guns and prosecute them, I don't know about you, but I have to ask myself, why not? Why not? Thank you for that donation, Ty Davison. Ty says, it's funny how cameras picked up Jussie Smollett outside, come on now, outside subways at 2 a.m., but no one sees or hears anything about the random shootings. Come on now. Come on now. And that's what I mean when I say we have to think critically. We have to think critically about what's going on. So you have here, let me see. I was listening to one of the ladies. She was the aunt of her niece, whose mother, who was a nurse's assistant, got shot and killed. See, the mother went to, what are those things called? Not a memorial, but you know when people have the candles outside and all the flowers outside and come people over there and they're lighting candles and they're crying and they're hugging each other, and you know what that stuff is called. What's that stuff called? Y'all gotta let me know. Haven't been to one of those in 1,000 years, but nonetheless, a vigil. Okay, so they had that going on, and somebody pulls up in a car out of nowhere. Okay, maybe it's gun related, gang related, maybe, and starts shooting all over the place. And Maria Thomas, who was the aunt, what she said in her interview captured everything I was thinking. She said, It seems like a job to them. They just go out and start shooting. So I said, well, let's look at the gun laws. Because what I do know about Chicago, family, is Chicago has very strict gun laws. It's very tough in the city of Chicago, right? And what I mean by that is it has been said, and you guys gotta fact check me. I'm not fact checking me. You guys gotta let me know if it's true or not. But it has been said that Chicago has no gun stores. Listen to what I'm saying, family. What's up, Sunny Days 35? How you doing? Chicago has no gun shops. But in 2018, approximately 5,600 guns. One article said 7,000. Another article said 5,600 guns were seized. There are no gun shops in Chicago. So what we know is gun trafficking is happening. They're going to other states that neighbor Chicago or other areas outside of the city of Chicago where the gun laws are very weak or weak. Not very weak. That's what I mean. Very weak. Very weak. Where you can go in there and you can just purchase a gun. And so when that gun comes back across the line, it's sold. So the question is, who are the people who are purchasing the guns that are bringing the guns into Chicago? Yes, Ramsey, from Gary, Indiana, and other places in Indiana as well, because Indiana has very loose laws when it comes to guns. So they're going there and they purchase the guns. So the question is, who are the people purchasing the guns? And the reason why we say that, because we know that you have to fit certain criteria when the guns are purchased legally. You have to pass some form of a background check, even if it's just handing in your ID, your state issued ID. You have to pass some form of a background check when they're purchased legally. So the people who are buying the guns and bringing it back into Chicago, who are they? So that's the first thing we want to explore. We want to start exploring gun trafficking, right? And that's when guns are purchased legally and then they're brought back into the area where the gun crimes are happening. The guns that are sold legally, like I said, but when the people who are arrested of having the guns in their possession, when they are arrested, those people are not the people who purchased the gun. And then they claim to not be able to trace the gun back in many cases or in many instances to the original gun buyer. So you have to wonder, why can't you trace it all the way back? If these guns have serial numbers on them, and if they were bought legally, there's supposed to be record keeping on each of these guns. A background check should come with the original owner, but here's where we get into their problem. Here's where we're going to get to, if somebody says, I got mine from a shop in Riverdale, Illinois, right? Captain Crunch is saying bullshit. Why are you saying bullshit? Bullshit about what? What's bullshit? Yes, straw purchasing. We're about to get into straw purchasing, right? And some guns, yes, Nick, some guns have erased the serial numbers, but we already know that they have been able to trace many of these guns back. Most of them come back to legal purchases. Most of them are. So let's go on a little bit deeper. In 2016, because the argument for some people have made, well, these guns are stolen. My gun was stolen. My shop was broken into. But in 2016, they found a total of 477 guns were stolen from gun shops in Illinois and Indiana. A total of 477. I already told you that 5,600 to about 7,000 guns were seized. So 477 guns is only a small fraction of all the guns that have been seized in Chicago alone. So we know majority of them are not they're not coming from stolen shots. This is from a report from the government site. Thank you for that donation, Mark Mitchell. Mark is saying, Doc, this is my third time on your page, but I like what you're saying, so it won't be my last. You're really smart and you're so pretty. Oh, thank you, Doc. A lot of those people in the government are in on it. Of course they're in on it. We're going to get there. You know that's where I'm going. You know that's where I'm going. So the second thing I want us to explore, the first one was gun trafficking. So I want you to start wrapping your mind around gun trafficking and how that works. How that works. That means you're going and you're purchasing the guns legally in a place where the gun laws are relaxed, and then you're bringing them back into an area where there are stricter gun laws, when it's not easy to purchase these guns. That's gun trafficking. Then you have straw purchases and illegal sales. So straw purchases is when you buy a gun on behalf of someone else. So if I'm the one who's able to get a gun, I have a clean record, I'm not a felon, because we know allegedly, and you hear me saying the word allegedly, and I mean that when I say allegedly, felons cannot purchase a gun. Allegedly. Allegedly. So if someone comes up to me and says, yo, Dr. Shonna, I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars, can you cop this for me? And I know I don't know anybody who has illegal guns. Maybe I might just go and purchase one and do the whole background check and then come back and sell it. And the reason why they're able to make that kind of sell, because private sellers, listen to me, family. Shout out to JN, one of our community members on our channel. He said, have you heard about the guns found in crates in the alleys of Chicago? I'm not finished with that yet, JN. I'm going to get to that. But what we know about private sellers is private sellers don't have to do a background check, and private sellers do not have to have any record keeping. So I can go ahead and purchase a gun legally and turn around and sell it without being licensed. Purchase it legally from a shop, sell it privately. That's another thing that has been happening, right? That's another thing that has been happening. The third thing I want you to look at, because I said I'm not going to stay here too long. The third thing is, now, I don't know, I think his name is Richard Pearson. He's like the National Rifle Association, but you gotta fact check me on that. Thank you for that donation, Sharkhill. Thank you so much for that donation. You gotta fact check me on Richard Pearson. I know his last name is Pearson. I think his first name is Richard, but I could be wrong. But let's have this discussion about what he's saying. Even though people don't like what he said, and sometimes we say, okay, you a crazy son of a so-and-so, because you already know you just want to push your gun laws and you want everything to be okay for your people, but you don't want the same type of rights for our people. And that's the argument we have. But sometimes I like to sit back and I like to listen to these kind of people, because these are the kind of people who are in meetings behind closed doors, and they're privy to information that we're never privy to. And even though we write off what they're saying as preposterous, and when I say we, I'm not talking about people in this community, because you know I'm going to agree with his ass. But I'm saying we, those of us who are still in our lily fluff communities and our lily fluff positions, and we're not running for government, we're running for positions, and we don't want to believe anybody who's on the opposing side. So we're Democrats, we don't want to believe Republicans, and we're Republicans, we don't want to believe Democrats. So Richard Pearson, he made a statement, and I said he's on to something. Because in my opinion, I don't know the man, I don't like the man or dislike the man, because I don't know the man, so it don't matter to me. But in my opinion, this man is privy to information that we're never going to be privy to. And he said that gangs have infiltrated the city's government. But of course, the city government didn't like that statement. Of course, they pushed back. Of course, they didn't respond to media when media wanted to ask follow-up questions. Of course, they denied the claim. But let's really look at what he's saying for a minute. Let's think about what he's saying for a minute. Is it a possibility? Is it a possibility that they're all in cahoots? I mean, we already know corruption happens on police forces. We already know, we got evidence on evidence on evidence on evidence of police being corrupted, of police lying, of police blatantly killing people. We already know all this stuff already exists. So why not? Why not get a payout from gang members? Some of y'all on my channel, y'all been following me for a minute, and I say to y'all all the time what my mama used to say. What I say my mama used to say, They don't make movies for nothing. That was something my mom always used to say. She said, let me tell you something, baby. Dumb people don't make movies for nothing. It may be humorous to you, but there's some truth in it. You better watch those movies to try to uncover where the truth is. And you know, there's a ton of new movies, a ton of movies that support this claim. And even though it's a movie, this is a guy that's in a rifle association. This is a guy that is all tied up with lobbying. This is a guy that knows what happens on the golf course. You know, a lot of business takes place on a golf course. And for those of you that are not in the golf world, I'm not in the golf world, but you know, my husband's in the golf world. And then those of you guys who are not in the golf world, you don't understand what really goes on the golf course. So these are the kind of people who are in those kind of good old boy clubs that have these conversations and they know what's happening. These are the people that go on vacation with each other. These are the people that go on their yachts with each other and they smoking their cigar and drinking their bourbon and they having these kind of discussions. So why would I not want to take his conversation, his statement as true? That's right, Mr. Pirate Brain. He said, remember The Wire? I love that show. The Wire was my, yo, The Wire was the ish. All right. Somebody said, I need some bourbon. Listen, that sounds personal. Sharice is saying, I work with an ex-officer, and he said the law enforcement in Louisiana was known for doing that, getting paid to do hits for gangs. Listen. Police officers get paid 50 cents an hour. You know, I'm being facetious when I say that. But when you new on the force, you ain't making a lot of money when you new on the force. You know, people, desperate measures call for desperate times. Didn't I say that last night? So I want y'all to really think about that statement. That was number 3, that gangs have infiltrated the city government. Listen, another reason why I believe that to be true, let me make this very clear. Another reason why I believe that to be true is because, for one, Chicago has been fighting this gang situation for a very long time. This gun situation has been out of control in the city of Chicago for a very long time, and y'all still haven't cleaned it up? Stop playing with me. It doesn't make sense. You can't tell me for the life of me, all these years, you've been fighting this gun violence and this gang violence, and you haven't made any headway? It's not getting better? Sounds like an inside job to me. It sounds orchestrated to me. King Hazy said you can't clean up gangs. I would have to disagree with you. You may not be able to get rid of gangs, but you can change how gangs operate. Let me tell you something, King Hazy. King Hazy, have you ever been to New York? If you're not from New York, have you ever been to New York? And if you ever been to New York, back in the 80s and the 90s, have you ever been in downtown Brooklyn? Have you ever been to Bed-Stuy? Have you ever been to Harlem? Come on, Dwayne. Dwayne Williamson, am I lying? And King Hazy, since you're saying yes, when was the last time you was in BK, Brooklyn Stand Up? When was the last time you was in the BX? What up, BX? Throw it up. When was the last time you was in Harlem? Let's go uptown. You know how we get down. When was the last time you was in any of those areas? See, King Hazy saying, nah, I was on some shopping shit. So let me put this to you. Once upon a time, King Hazy, we in New York City were out of control. Am I lying, Dwayne? Am I lying? Out of control. That's right, BK, do or die. It was serious. You would catch a body at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Try somebody. It was customary. Remember French rolls, ladies, when we used to roll our hair up French rolls? It was customary for me to have blades in my head because it ain't that kind of party. It was customary for me to carry one of those little bats like that in my jacket. Because if you was coming after me, I was getting at least one of you. It was customary for us to walk that street with a survival mindset because you can get it at any moment, any day. It was customary for these little gangs and these little cliques and these little posses to come up all over the place. It's customary for you to be on a train, minding your business, listen to your music, bopping out, and you get hit over your head, and it's on, you're getting stumped out. It was customary. That's right, Alexandria. Alexandria said all those areas are gentrified. But how do you think it happened? How do you think that got it under control? How do you think the numbers of stray bullets hitting 3-year-olds decreased? How do you think that happened? Right? That's right. That's right, Dayton. He said all the little dirty bloods cutting people left and right. You already know what it was. You already know what it was. You better not wear red in a certain community, you'll be stumped out. You'll be stumped out. And let's not even talk about the Dominican gangs. Because the Matatanas in the Bronx was no joke. My boo was put in the hospital, badly beat up. Badly beat up. Cut up and everything. Sliced up, arm caught everything from blocking. I'm sitting there waiting for George to get back to the block. Where is he? Until somebody goes, ooh. Now I know that's my call. Y'all already know I'm from the Bronx, so don't get embarrassed by me. I'm okay with how I grew up. I'm okay with my friends and my family. That's still my friends and my family now. We don't do a lot of things together, but they still my people. If I gotta make a phone call, they still my people. But I was okay with that. Yo, they got George, and we all piled outside, all get in the car and go to the hospitals, go get his mother, go to the hospitals, because that was our life. Now, not that it doesn't happen anymore, but what I'm saying to you is it happens less. So to tell me you can't decrease that, that is a lie. That is a lie. That's right, Dwayne. Shoot, they were no joke in New York City too. They were the Trinidadians, right? Out of Brooklyn. Is it Brooklyn? The Trinidadians out there? Shoot. That's right, Scorpio girl. She said yes, even at school. At school, it was, listen, that was in the Bronx. Okay. In school, it was no difference. Why do you think New York City had gun detectors in the school? Why do you think that was the case? I remember being in summer school, Roosevelt High School in the Bronx, going by Southern Boulevard, minding my business, and you hear in the classroom, pop, 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 right in the school. Somebody got shot. They had to all let us out. That's not happening right now. Not that it cannot happen. Oh, yes. Yes, Dwayne, to my Latin Kings, you taking it back. Latin Kings, Zulu Nation, MS-13, you taking it back. The Matatanas, you taking it back. So you cannot tell me for the life of me that they can't quell that situation in Chicago. No disrespect to all my Chicago people. You know that we all arrogant where we come from. But Chicago don't got nothing on the 5 boroughs. I'm sorry. Chicago don't got nothing on the 5 boroughs. And don't even sleep on the Italians on Staten Island. You'll catch your body. Like, don't even sleep on Staten Island, Stinking Island. It was crazy in Stinking Island too. Don't play games. Don't play games in New York City. You better know where to go, where not to go. But gentrification in many of these areas has shifted a lot of that. So man said, come on now. I'm trying to tell you. What's up, Secret Balance? Shout out to our community member. Secret Balance. Hello, family. Peace and strength to you all. Peace and strength to you as well. Thank you for that donation, Chris. Nebrew. I appreciate that. Said a Nebrew. Does that mean that you're Negro in Hebrew? Is that what that last name means? Right? So 90s Flow says, 90s Flower Child said, what's the solution? What's the solution? Listen to the show, 90s Child. I'll get to a solution, but there's no such thing as the solution because there are more ways to skin a cat, right? Another thing you got to think about, number 4, that I want you guys to start thinking about is entrapment. Entrapment. And we know entrapment is happening. Not only, remember that article that came out a couple of years ago, and I know my sister Michi X did a video on that, when it was that van in Chicago and they had the sneakers there to entice the people to go and steal the sneakers, and then they arrested them all, right? Remember that? Entrapment happens with guns as well. I was reading a letter for somebody who had to do the time, and his story is first of all, I don't know why this brother wrote the letter. I don't know why. You could find him on the internet. I think his last name is Pickett, whatever. You can find him on the internet. I would have never responded to this media source to write that goddamn letter. I would not have done it, but I'm glad he did it because it gave me some insight. However, reading some of the articles during that time, they took a lot of stuff out of his letter and they just twisted shit. I would not have wrote that letter, but he wrote like a 3-4 page letter to the media. And he went on to tell his story of how he was entrapped into selling guns, or at least being the plug to get a gun. And so what he said was, he was approached by somebody, and at first he turned it down. When the person said, you know where to get a gun, he was like, no. But then when the person kept pushing and was offering money to buy the gun, he started to make a little bit of money because his girlfriend, who he was going to marry, allegedly, just had a baby, and he wanted to help her and his daughter. So what he started to do was find a plug, get the plug for the gun, put extra money on top of the gun price. So say, for example, if the plug wanted $300, let's just say that, he would say the gun was going for $400. He'll make that $100, and then he will also collect that $150 that was being given to him by the person who was asking for a plug. Long story short, that person who was asking for the plug was law enforcement. That person was law enforcement. And this guy, who really don't have anything to do with it, never got arrested a day in his life, never been shot, never been stabbed, never been caught up in nothing, never sold any drugs, never got caught up in anything. This person who found an opportunity to make easy money by just letting him know who has a gun he can go buy is doing time right now. Is doing time right now as we speak. They got wars going on in the chat. Mr. Pirate Brand says Chicago ain't got nothing on B-More. Yo, B-More is another goddamn story. Listen, B-More is another damn story. That's another. I did a video on B-More too, but B-More is another story. But nonetheless, entrapment is serious. So that's going on. Then the 5th thing I have to say, and then I'm out of here, is corrupt and unlicensed sellers. This is all that's going on. Corrupt sellers mean that they don't even care if you have a felon. They're going to sell you the gun. They're even going to get around that background check. Unlicensed sellers is somebody who's not licensed to sell guns, but they sell guns. You could be a private seller and you not have a license and you can sell guns. So here's somebody asking me, what's the solution? King Hazy said, yeah, this shit is heinous. Yo, it's out of control. It's out of control. Let me tell you something. Y'all arguing about Chicago and Maryland. Y'all funny. Somebody said New Orleans, stand up. Am I the only one here? Listen, New Orleans is out of control as well. New Orleans is out of control, but don't worry, they're gonna wipe your city clean too. A lot of y'all gonna get locked up too. A lot of homes are gonna be broken up. A lot of homes are gonna be broken up. So somebody says there's no solution. I think there are solutions. I think there are solutions. See, it's not going to be solutions that you want to hear. For one thing, when you look at the gun laws are terrible. The federal government knows they have to pass better gun laws, but they're not. And you know why they're not doing it is because they get a lot of lobbying money from the NRA and other gun sources. So they're not going to change it. It doesn't matter if little white children in Connecticut are shot up. It doesn't matter if little white children in Columbine High School is shot up. It doesn't matter if that's going to happen. If killing little white children didn't make the difference, do you think it's really going to change for black children? That is the solution. The solution is in changing the federal laws, but they're not going to do it. You got to really think about where these guns are coming from. Just like somebody was saying that the crate of the guns that got dropped off into Chicago. Yes, that happened. There was a crate. That's entrapment. There was a crate of guns that was, not only is that entrapment if you get arrested for it, but it's a setup. is because they know what's going to happen. But not only is that happening, in Chicago, there is a major export line that comes through with the freight trains. And they know when the train is coming through that has the gun and what car it is exactly. All of that information has to be documented. All that, when you do import export, all of that stuff by federal law has to be accounted for. So who's the leak? Who's the leak? The solution is to clean up the goddamn government. Clean up the local government. I honestly do believe that the local government is involved in this. I honestly do believe it. So you have JN saying, the learned hopelessness. There's always a solution to a problem. You can't thrive in this life thinking that way. Listen, JN, that's a whole nother conversation we need to be having with our community, because I see that so much. Our community has a bleak way of thinking. Not everybody, but too many people have a bleak way of thinking. Before they see the solution, they always see the problem and they say that there is no solution. There is no hope. Nothing is going to change. I just given you guys so many different examples how other communities that were plagued with violence, crime, homicide, how they have changed. So you can't say there is no solution. How did it work in New York? How did it work in other areas? You cannot say there is no solution. And if you're looking for the government to fix it without taking actions within our own community to fix it, then maybe you would see as no solution. Because the government is not going to fix it for you. The government is going to fix it for the pockets of the people that fund them. And when they're ready to fix it, they're going to fix it. Y'all mark my words tonight. Mark my words tonight, what I'm saying. When they're ready to fix it, it is going to be fixed. And you're probably not going to be able to afford to live there when it is fixed. You better believe it is going to get itself in order. There is always a solution. Always a solution. And I know you don't want to hear the kumbaya, we got to unify, we got to do it. But if we did unify, let's just talk real for a second. If we did unify and if we did start coming together and being a little bit more critical in our thoughts, our discussions, and in our actions and behaviors, we can fix a lot of social ills that's happening to our community. And what's so crazy, and I'm not saying anybody in this chat, but what I'm saying, what's so crazy are the people that's always saying there is no solution, how can we fix it, are the same people that got the killers on the street. Those are your children. That's your baby mama and your baby daddy. Let's not be funny. Let's not get in our bag and our feelings. They got mama somewhere. They got papa somewhere. They got aunties somewhere. They got uncles somewhere. They got grandma and grandpa somewhere. Let's just talk. Let's talk real for a moment. Right? Dayton said, thank you for that donation, Dayton. Dayton said, word, New York City still giving out gang indictments like it's parking tickets. You already know because they're not playing any games. And guess what? They're moving into the Bronx too, cleaning up the Bronx. They're gentrifying the Bronx. I go to some areas in the Bronx. I'm like, holy shit. What? This wasn't like this like 5 years ago when I was here. It's crazy as hell. And you see the cops. And you see them, they cleaning people up, getting them out. They fix it when they want to fix it. That's right, Soul Man said Parkchester. Absolutely. Even some of the hangout spots in the Bronx now. Once upon a time, you ain't want to go to no lounge in the Bronx. You might end up dead. Now you be like, oh, this is a nice spot. This is cool. All right, the crowd was nice. Wow, it's diverse in here. Okay, go ahead, New York, do your thing. That's how I am when I go back to New York now. So you can't tell me it's not possible. Absolutely. And I know some of y'all didn't like that. I know some of them didn't like the fact that some of these gang members, they're your children and your nephews and your grandkids and your children's fathers and your children's mothers. D.E. Roberts, shout out to the community member, D.E. Roberts. Thank you for joining the channel. D.E. Roberts says the South Bronx is now called So Bro. Look, they got Soha, they got for South Harlem, they got So Bro. When they changed the name, you already know it's been gentrified. They got Soha, which is now South Harlem, whatever the hell that is. They got So Bra, So Bro for the South Bronx, and they got something Heights in Brooklyn. Dwayne Williamson, you still there? Let me know what that new community is in Brooklyn. I remember somebody asked me, "Oh, do you know Sun Heights is in Brooklyn?" And I said, "Son, what the hell is that?" And I had Googled it, and I said, "Holy shoot! What was it? It wasn't Crown Heights. It was one of these different areas that used to be off the chain. When they gentrified it, Prospect Heights. When they gentrified, they changed the whole goddamn name and the address. You can even write Prospect Heights, New York, with the zip code. I said, well, what the hell is that? Where's this at? This is in New York? Prospect Heights, New York? Where the hell is that? They changed the whole damn shebang. The whole damn shebang. That's what's going to happen in Chicago, too. So I hope I answer your question when you say, what's the solution? First of all, the federal government is involved. You got to clean up the federal government. You got to clean up the local government. You got to clean it up. Y'all got to stop voting in people just because they are of a certain political party. You got all these people who have managed Chicago for how long and they haven't been able to fix it, and you're not suspicious of that? You're not suspicious of that? I'm suspicious of it. That's the solution right there. Stop voting in these crooks. Do your research on them. Do your homework in them. Stop being so tied to one political party. Stop being so committed to it. Stop being loyal to a party that gives you nothing in return. You want a solution? That'll be a goddamn solution. Right? Stop being loyal to a party that gives you nothing in return. You know what I do when I go into the voting polls and I vote? The people who are on the polls in my local community, I've already done my research on them. So I don't just go vote Democrat or Republican or independent just because. I want to know who aligns with my thought process the most. I want to know when I knock on the doors, who is more likely to have a conversation with me. I don't care what party you are from. If you're not talking Shonna language, you don't get a vote. It's that simple. It's just that simple. But even that makes people so uncomfortable. Vote blue no matter who. Ignorance. It makes people so uncomfortable. Because people don't want to sit down and do their research. And they don't recognize the game that's being played on us all the time. You get a little black face, you put Democrat under that black face, and automatically people vote. Who does that? Who the hell does that? Right? Who does that? You should be looking at what's happening in your community. You should be looking at how many schools are being shut down, being closed, and they're turned into luxury living. You should be wanting to know, how did that get past the people that you voted in office? You should be wanting to write them letters. You should be wanting to knock on their doors and sit down and have a conversation with them so you can understand why they made a decision to close a school in your neighborhood to change it into high-rise luxury apartments. But nobody asking these kind of questions. They just automatically go right back in the poll and just vote for the same person again. But you don't see that as a problem? You don't see it as a problem that a hospital in your community closes down and now is luxury apartments? You don't see what's happening here? And then you say, oh, Lord, no one cares about us. We can't get no jobs. We can't afford to live here no more. You seen it happen in 10 years before it took root. But for some reason, we like to render ourselves hopeless. Oh, Lord, they're shooting. The people are shooting. But before he started shooting, he was a 5-year-old in your house. I guess that's my cue to get on out of here. I guess that's my cue to get on out of here, right? People don't like that. People don't like that. People don't like that. Before he started cutting dope or heroin, you know how they say that for heroin. Before they started cutting dope to sell it, they watched what you was doing. Can we talk the truth? Can we talk the truth? Can we talk the truth about the trauma in our families? Can we talk the truth about the substance abuse in our families? Can we talk the truth about the alcoholism in our families? Can we talk the truth about the domestic violence in our families? Can we talk the truth about the prostitution in our families? Can we talk the truth? No, we don't like to hear nothing about our community. We want everyone else to fix it. Everybody else is creating the problems. So you're going to ask me the solution. The only reason why I went there, because we got to stop looking for the solution outside of what's going on in our own families and in our own homes and our own community. And then we also got to elevate the way we're thinking. We got to be willing to sit down, to dedicate time, to get it on the internet and looking up these people who are asking you for their votes. Instead of going in the ballot and just voting down. Oh, if it's Democrat, I'm just going to vote. I think that's the stupidest thing on earth. So stupid. You want to know how to change things? We got to show up to board meetings. Board meetings are public meetings when it's public schools and public hospitals. Show up to those meetings. If there's an advisory board for the police department in your town, you need to be on it. You need to be going to those meetings. You need to be going to the town hall meetings that the mayor in your town is allegedly holding, or at least supposed to be holding. I know what happens in the communities that I have lived in, not just the one I'm living in now, communities that I have lived. It happens. When a school calls a meeting and they're about to pass what's that called? A referendum, or they're about to pass some type of policy, or they're asking for some type of funding, and they want you to show up to a meeting for you to voice your opinion, you need to be showing up to those meetings. Right? Queen of Weaves. Queen of Weaves? Hold on a second, Queen of Weaves. That's your name, Queen of Weaves. Would you sell weaves, Queen of Weaves? Got the name of Queen. Are you saying you the Queen of Weaves because you wear weaves or you sell weaves? I mean, why your name Queen of Weaves? But anyway, I don't want to get distracted, Queen of Weaves. It just sounds interesting, Queen of Weaves. But Queen of Weaves says, teach on ACEs. For y'all that don't know what ACEs is, that's adverse childhood experiences. I did do a video on ACEs before. Since I wrote a paper last semester on it, blew me away and gave me a lot of insight on myself and my own family. Thank you for that. So ACEs is adverse childhood experiences. Let me break that down for y'all in simple terms and let y'all know what that means. So if you grew up with your alcoholic mama or your alcoholic daddy or your alcoholic grandma or your drug abusing grandpa or your molester, Chester the molester uncle, or whatever the case is, if you grew up with a belt as a means of discipline, an extension cord as a means of discipline, a pot and pan as a means of discipline, a broom as a means of discipline, no matter what you did, whether you got a C on the paper or you slept out overnight, the discipline was the same. The crime had the same time, no matter what you did. If you grew up with gunshots, if you knew not to cut through the park because you get jumped if you go through the park, but you have to walk around the park and you have to look behind you, and you can't walk next to the vans of the building, you can't walk next to the building, you got to walk in the middle of the street, and you got to always walk in pairs because you can get kidnapped, you can get raped, you get all these things that's happening in your community. If you grew up with extreme poverty, you got to miss school because you got to take care of your kids. You got to go to school with dirty socks, dirty underwear, dirty pants, messed up hair, and all the teachers don't want to deal with you. So you feel bad in school. You feel bad at home because you ain't eat. You go to school so that you can eat because you're in extreme poverty. I'm not just talking about being poor. I'm talking about extreme poverty. When the mattresses are on the floor, when your apartment looks like the apartments that look in the wire. and do believe that those things exist. Do believe that I've seen too many of those kind of apartments in my life as an investigator, dodging roaches falling from the ceiling. Oh, I'm sorry about that. We got to exterminate. I keep telling the super, don't worry about me. It's all right, ma'am. You want to sit down? I was okay, I'll stand. I ain't gonna be here too long. Roaches falling on me. I'm like, going, the hell is going on in Paterson, New Jersey? Right? That's adverse childhood experiences. And the reason why we say it because it creates so much trauma in our community. It alters your brain. It alters the way you see life. It dictates how you behave. And so many people in our community is so affected by their adverse childhood experiences, i.e. trauma. They're so affected by it that as an adult, they can't even see life differently. They see life as bleak. They see life that is never going to get better. It ain't going to change. And that's how they operate. And they need a lot of nurturing and a lot of care and a lot of concern in order to change the damage that has happened in their brain in order for them to get better. But think about a 40-year-old who knew nothing but trauma in their life, been in and out of detention homes as youth, been in and out of prison as an adult, and now you throw them into the world at 40 and you say, go survive. And everything has this person on edge. And the only thing they know for every response is to fight. The motherfucker says to me, I'm going to punch him in the mouth. That's the solution for everything. What? You bugging? I'll punch him in the mouth. My supervisor tell me to work an extra shift, I'm gonna punch him in the mouth. Everything in the solution is, you know what my friend said to me, fuck that. So I punch him in the mouth. Because that's all they're operating on. Right? This is bigger than fight or flight. But if fight or flight, Kaisi, has something to do with it. It's way bigger than that. Right? Janice is saying lots of self-love. They don't got self-love. They don't even know what love is, because for love for them means if I'm in trouble, my mama gonna fight for me. Love is, well, we didn't have nothing to eat, so my mama sell her pussy so we can get some food on our table. For them, that's love. So just imagine when they get in a relationship, an adult relationship. Just imagine how love is gonna look for them. Just imagine how broken these homes are going to be. That's right. Somebody said in-home PTSD. You know what? You're right about that. Somebody said you keep it at 100. We got to keep it 100. We got to stop lying to our community. Thank you for that donation, Mark. Mark is saying, I think it's the federal government. I'm from Washington, D.C., and they used to call us the murder capital of the world in the 80s. Not now, no. It used to be Chocolate City. Now it's White Chocolate City. You ain't never lied, Mark Mitchell. I did a video on that too. And one of the baby boomers in the community got so mad at me talking about what used to be Chocolate City. She was big mad. She unfollowed me. Ooh, I'm so scared. Ooh, I'm so sad you unfollowed me. Get the hell on out of here. But you're right. It is the government. The government has the power to change the conditions in the community. They do. And they can change it for the better, or they can change it for the worse. They can put guns in your community and drugs in your community for the purpose of driving down the property value. And when they're ready, they'll come and take it for the purpose of driving up the property value. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear that. Somebody said, you sounded like Fox News. I read your stupid ass comments. You sounded like Fox News. Fact check me. Let me know when I'm telling a lie. If it hurts your ears, then leave. Anybody need you around here? You ain't hurting nobody's goddamn feelings, and you don't dictate how I live. So you can be going. It's just that easy. Simple. I got the solution. Bye. I told you I wasn't going to be long. Look at y'all got me out here for an hour, 14 minutes. I got to get the hell on out of here. Quentin says, laugh aloud facts. DC was chocolate city indeed. Oh, it ain't no chocolate city no more. It is white chocolate. It is white milk. It is mayonnaise. It is Wonder Brand. It is nothing chocolate about DC anymore. The only chocolate I see was the chocolate workers making $11 an hour. That's the only chocolate I see in DC. That's right, Mark Mitchell. He said they will change when that money is involved. That's exactly when it's going to change, when the money is involved. This whole goddamn situation in Chicago and other major cities that's experiencing this kind of, even Missouri, what's that? St. Louis, right? St. Louis is off the goddamn chain. Whew, Lord, I remember when I did my research on St. Louis, I said, oh my God, I got to present on this chapter, but this damn city's making my head spin. St. Louis is crazy. Who's from St. Louis up in here? Flower Child said, are you on daily? I try to come on, but no, I'm not on daily. I only come on when I had something to say. And you may have missed the beginning of the videos, 90s Child, or 90s Flower Child. The reason why I came on is because I had stated that there are people in our community who are presenting that they're for the community. And what I have been seeing them do is post a lot of information, or not information, I'm sorry, a lot of media and propaganda concerning Chicago, but they're not exploring it with a critical analysis. They're just posting it out there. And I'm saying that I don't think that's the wise way to use your platform, because there's a lot of information that goes into what's happening in Chicago. And if you're just going to post it and say, if you really care about Black lives, you should care that 90 people were shot in Chicago. If you're going to really post something like that, why don't you do a critical analysis of what's happening in Chicago? Because our people, too many of us, we don't like to research. We don't like to read things, and if we look at you as somebody who's we can look up to, we believe everything you say. So when people start making these kind of statements and they don't support it with any facts or figures, they don't give you where you can go do your research. And I can tell you where to get any of the research I just went over. Let me give y'all your site, because y'all know I don't mind giving y'all sites. I don't mind sharing the information. It was a Kelly Robin or Robin Kelly. She was running for something and she did a great research. I don't know if she ever got elected in Chicago, but her name was Robin Kelly, if I'm not mistaken, or Kelly Robin. But she did a great rundown on the guns that's in Chicago and why it's happening. She did a great rundown on gun trafficking. She did a great rundown on straw purchases, all the stuff I went over in this video. I got it from her government site. She's a councilwoman or some crap like that. That's where I got it from. But people are coming out here and they're just saying things, and they're not giving you guys any data information. They're just making little statements that Black lives really matter. You should care that everyone is dying in Chicago. Yeah, well, you should also care that the government is involved. Welcome to the community, Queen of Weaves. There she goes. She's going to tell about her business. We're going to have to shout her out. She's going to have to come on and tell us how she's making money. I hope you're selling weaves and not just wearing weaves. I hope you selling weaves, Queens of Weaves, and not just wearing weaves. Because we gotta take our money back from the Asians too. But that's a whole nother video. But listen, child, I love all of y'all. Who's this saying this? Make your own heroes. Again, Dr. Thomas Sowell or Larry Elder. I listened to Dr. Thomas Sowell. So you talking about that to say what? I listened to him. I have a couple of his books as well. And again, the only thing he gives is just blatant numbers. He doesn't go deeper. He's not going to take a sociological approach. He's not going to look at it from other areas. The only thing that Dr. Sowell does is just present the data. That's all he does. He's not going to give you any other insight. You have to understand with the whole concept of intersectionality and what intersectionality says for us scholars like Dr. Sowell, so he knows this is to be true. What that says is things as you see on the surface is not what it is by itself. There's so many other factors in life that intersect with that, right? Like marriage and race, wealth and race. These are things that intersect. Crime and race is intersecting. Poverty and crime is intersecting. Poverty, crime, and race is intersecting. You just can't present numbers and say, oh, this is how that happened. You just can't do that. You just can't do that. You really have to provide some sociological and psychological insight into what's really happening. So we can follow all these people, statisticians and all these other people, but we don't really understand how it works. We'll just run with what they're presenting and we'll think it be true. We're not even looking at their funding. We're not even looking like who's backing them. We're not even, listen, we see what happened with Nick Cannon and them, right? So people who are using other people for their platform, for their fame, for their recognition, and they're tied to universities, they got to be very careful about what they say, or they won't be presenting at a university. So listen, anyway, Kareem Me Friend says, Dr. Shonna, you have a unique gift understanding today's Black psyche. Psychologists will pay for that information. I try. I don't know if it's unique, but thank you for that. You know, Angela Burris says, look, I don't get on Facebook because Black folks need to come off that Democratic plantation and it makes my head hurt. But you're on YouTube. I get your point, but that can be argued from another perspective. And I'm not doing it to be mean or to push back. I'm just giving you another perspective. But we're on YouTube. It's not our platform. We're on Twitter. It's not our platform. We're on IG. It's not our platform. We're on TikTok. It's not our platform. Right? Somebody said Larry Elder is like a broke clock, right? Twice a day. Y'all better stop. Stop. We don't have to always like the person. What you need to learn how to do is eat the meat and spit out the bones. There's a lot of information. If you read their books, if you listen to their information, their statuses, their stats, and read their articles or whatever the case is, if you read it, you're gonna learn something. You're gonna learn something. What I'm saying is that should not be the end all be all or the truth. There are multiple truths in this world. And the minute we intersect it with other things, everything gets watered down because we give another theory, we give another philosophical perspective, we get another hypothesis. This is what happens. Information has to be created over and over again. We just can't take one thing and say this is the truth. That's not just the truth. That may be a truth, but it's not the truth. And so the only thing I want for us to do in this community is start to explore multiple truths, not just Dr. Shonna's truth, explore multiple truths. Listen to all types of people. Listen to white people, listen to Black people, listen to Asian people. See what everyone is saying and see how it intersects with what the information you have come up with, what research you have done, so that you can formulate your own understanding. All right, I'm out of here. All right, y'all. Shout out to Audra Walton, another community member. I need to be on that black tube. Let me know. All right. So Secret Balance. Shout out to another community member. Says Black Tube coming soon. Secret Balance. We're supposed to talk. I'm gonna email you my phone number because you gotta get on this channel with me. We already talked about that. So I'm out of here. Larry Elder misrepresents South Central Los Angeles. JN says, thank you for another awesome live chat, Dr. Shonna. I'm a recent MSW graduate. You truly inspire me to advocate for our community so raw. Oh, you're a Zeta? And have a great night. You have a great night as well. Thank you for that, Soror. But yes, we can do whatever we want. We put our mind to it. And before we start criticizing all the gangbangers, make sure they're not in your family or make sure they're not your children or your boo. Speak to you guys soon. Have a great night.